let's start the next segment. Got that there? All right, Baron, everything good now?
I think so.
Okay, cool. All right, Baron. So we're going to talk about adapting stories, campaigns. I want to be careful with the word stories because I know that gets some people heartburn. For me, I like the term campaign or setting. Setting, I think, is what I want to go with in this one a little bit better. Adapting stories, campaigns, and settings across systems. So, have you ever adapted a campaign or a setting or a story from one system to another? And if you have, how'd it go?
I really have not, just because doing a transfer from system to system, unless you have a in detail type of uh, cheat sheet in order to go from here to here with it, uh, it can be a little rough. Uh, I mean, I have done, ported things over from one game to another, but it's small things. Maybe just a dungeon layout or something along those lines, but not really anything where I've taken a complete setting out of here and plug and played it here. It just because sometimes that can be a definite headache. Plus, a lot of times when I'm running something, I'm doing it the way I run is I know where they're going to start, I know where they're going to end up, and then we just kind of figure out along the way how we're going to get there. So I don't
Okay.
have usually a defined, boom, 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 boom. It's kind of like, okay, so how we get there?
My problem with this question is I'm an IP purist. So, like, for example, we'll go with the Nerdy Ogre for a moment. Have you ever adapted a campaign or story from one system to another? And I'm right now about to hear all of his joys of Savage Rifts.
Savage Rift.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because Rifts was ported over to the Savage World system. That's literally what this question is about. And I know you love it so much, so you need to tell us about the joys of Savage Rifts.
Oh, see, I took it a totally different way. I am a putz. I totally thought because I'm like, oh yeah, I tried this once because I tried using Death House from Curse of Strahd, the opening adventure. I tried using that in my wrist in my Chaos Earth
Okay,
game.
no, that counts. That counts.
Okay, so I'm not a putz. Well, okay, I'm a putz, but not as big a putz as I thought. But yeah, I've tried it, and as far as I can tell, once again, the game just kind of petered out. I don't know, like exactly why, if it was just life things, but the players tell me that they were having a good time, that they were enjoying themselves, and I did. I like to think I did a good job at it, but I found it a really cool. It's just all I did was take, okay, at this point we have this monster. Okay, what does Palladium have that's equivalent to this? And I just worked that in there, and if there was an equivalent, there's rules for creating your own monsters in Palladium, so I just did that, and or just put
You
put it.
just jogged my memory about something I can talk about.
Um, but yeah, whenever it comes to creating this, Palladium Risk versus Savage World Risk, I tend to be a purist as well. I'm not a fan. It's like translating, it's like translating a book from one language to another. You get the phrase, it loses a little something in the translation, and after a while, this is like pouring a soft drink with over a bunch of ice and then just letting the ice melt. All you get is water flavored soft drink.
I got you. You know what? I'm gonna make a nope. I can't. It's too late for that. That should have been the last segment. I'm gonna make a comment in segment 5 that I should have made last segment. But so I've done a couple of things. Now I have never, at least that I can think of off the top of my head, converted any game or campaign setting. Let's use D&D to make it easy. I've never converted Dragonlance over to another game system. Why? Because if I'm going to do Dragonlance, I'm going to do Dragonlance. Now, I've kind of done the opposite, where I've done my homebrew in the Dragonlance world in Kryn because I like the character classes. I like the orders of high sorcery. I like the way the world works. Plus, also, then you don't get the whole like, but the War of the Lands Act actually in the year 6532. Oh, shut up. You know, but what I've probably done more is so Earthdawn has this term now in 4th edition called masks, and it's one of the awesome things that 4th edition did, where you have a base creature. Let's just say you have a wolf, but now you can put these masks on it, and masks are like, I want it to be an undead wolf. I want it to be an elemental undead wolf. I want it to be an incorporeal undead elemental wolf that breathes fire. Like, and each one of those things is called a mask, and you can put that on there, and it increases its legend points. It gives generic stats for it. And do you have to listen to the stats completely? No, it just gives you a range. I mean, if you're starting with a wolf, it's going to have some base stats from there, and then it goes up. I used to do that a lot in Earthdawn before they had the mask, which was I would go to a D&D monster and be like, I want to bring this into Earthdawn, and I would just grab it and be like, okay, what's the closest ability in Earthdawn, or do I just say it does it? And I would do things like that. But as far as I cannot think of, like, I've never taken After the Bomb into another setting. I've just never. Nope, haven't done it. So, I mean, it's one of the few things I don't have experience with, because if I'm going to do it, I want to do it where it belongs. Like, I don't take Battletech and put it into Robotech. Those are two different things. Like, Battletech are giant stompy robots. Robotech are ninja robots. If I want to play ninja robots, I do Robotech. If I want to play walking tanks, I do Battletech. Things like that. But so I don't have a lot of experience with that one. Anything else you guys want to say as far as adapting campaigns, settings, or systems? Because it doesn't sound like any of us have actually done that. So,
I mean, but it also, like, if you have a settings agnostic system, like Dungeons and Dragons, it kind of, or what's a Big Eye Small Mouth? It's just anime. So there's a wide variety of anime, but I mean, if it's a specific setting type, then no, play one game or the other. Don't.
okay.
Some things just don't mix.
All right. Well, this one, at least we can theory craft more. We don't have to have a necessarily full-on experience of this, but what are the challenges and benefits of system conversion? And we'll start with Baron on this one.
Well, the thing is one of the big things is make sure that you do it right.
What does that mean?
Well, you want to stay as to, I guess the best way to put it, you want to stay as close to it as you possibly can. So you say you're like this a system purist. You want to make sure. Yeah, IP purist. So you want to make sure that if you are taking from A and porting it over to B, that you still get that feel that you got from the original system over to the new one. Now, like with me myself, I don't necessarily adapt a story or a campaign from another system. What I like to do is taking maybe books that I've read, or something maybe I've a TV series or something that I've watched, and go, what, that's a good idea for maybe a campaign, and moving it over, and basically you kind of rework it a little bit. To me, that's a little bit better as opposed to trying to take it from one IP to another.
Okay.
Because you can with that you get a little bit of more, for lack of a better term, more literary license with it. Because yes, it's the biggest one, for instance, I was running a Pathfinder 2 game, and we were using one of the original modules, and I just wasn't happy with the module. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to take them to the Pharaoh. the full, I went ahead and pulled in everything from, the summer court, the winter court, puck, I just pooled it all together. They went to the winter court, and there was, the knight of winter who happened to be wearing a duster, carrying a hockey stick, and
Casey Jones?
no, Dresden. From the TV series version of Dresden had a hockey stick as
Okay.
opposed to a staff. But there was just little things like that I plugged in, and it actually wound up being a good little thing, because the wizard started talking to that NPC, and then they decided they were going to have a little kind of a mage off kind of thing. So I mean, it was kind of one of those fun little things that you don't necessarily think about, that gives you that freedom to do, with pulling it out more of a literary or even a television side. So, but when you, like I said, when you're trying to pull it from one IP to another, you want the biggest challenge is trying to keep that same feeling in there.
That's kind of my issue with Savage Rifts now. I know, to be fair, somebody's going to say, well, if you haven't actually played it, you can't know. Well, yes, I can. I've got 40 years of gaming experience. Take that, Crafty. And I can actually read through a book, and I can actually do things on the table, and I have a cognitive brain. I understand what pain is, even if I can't get pregnant myself. I can understand that, birthing pain is bad, especially when somebody says, by the way, I'd rather give birth than pass a kidney stone. Okay. You know what? I can relate a little bit to some of that. So when I look at something like Savage Rifts, and I'm like, okay, I get what you're trying to do here, but it just does not capture some of the nuance of the Palladium system that you have to use the Palladium system to get it. Now, does that mean you can't emulate the idea of having somebody with a big gun, a body armor and a big gun, or somebody that's all, drugged up and acting powerful, and, somebody that can, start fires with his brain? No, you absolutely can do that. But system absolutely affects setting. And as an IP purist, we had a couple of people in chat say that they've done Savage Rifts and they like it. I get it. I wouldn't call it Rifts. I would say, I would call it, savage post-apocalyptic, science fiction clown shoes world. And there you go. Have fun with that and do all your nonsense with it. I'm not saying that it's a bad game, but it's just like, new Battlestar Galactica wasn't Battlestar Galactica. Starbuck is not a chick, and Boomer is not an Asian chick. That's just not. It's not right. Do it right or don't do it at all is the way I look at it when it comes to TV shows, when it comes to music, when it comes to movies, comes to games, books, whatever. Do it right or don't do it at all. So now your mileage may vary. It doesn't mean you can't like it. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that for me, I just never take the time to do this. So what are the challenges? Well, the challenges are, like Baron said, getting it right. That's the first. Just getting it right is absolutely, but what does that mean? I'm going to just pass this over to Nerdy Ogre. What does it mean to get it right? Because, without using the cop-out phrase of, well, as long as you're having fun, you're doing it right. No, that we don't allow that answer here. What does it mean to get it right? Again, as a Rifts guy, what does it mean to get it right? If I were to port Rifts over to Earthdawn, what would I have to do to get it right?
You would have to get the exact same feel. You'd have to get the exact same feel of Rift's Earth, and it's like that's what Savage World Rifts failed, because they had to nerf it. They they nerfed the Juicer, they nerfed the Dragon. I've been told that they nerfed the Cyber Knight, and these are iconic character classes of Rift's Earth. And it's like you can't water this stuff down and still have the same game. You just can't do it, and that's why I say, play one system or the other. You can use Savage World rules and play a Rift style game, maybe, like you were saying, but you can't play. It's not Rifts. It's not the same thing. It's like
missing a lot of just that nuance.
it's Rifts from Wish.com.
There you go, Alibaba. It's funny you say that because Earth Dawn First Edition had a Savage version and also had a Pathfinder version. Savage version was much better. You cannot emulate Earth Dawn in Pathfinder. You cannot do it. No matter how many rules changes you make to try to incorporate some of the aspects of it, you cannot. The game system plays so differently that you just now. Can you play on an Earth Dawn type world with some of the Earth Dawn concepts? Absolutely. But the game system itself does not capture the growth. It doesn't capture the magic. It doesn't capture so much of how that step system works versus a linear D20 system. It just does not. It just doesn't work, especially when you have exploding dice in Earth Dawn. And it's the same thing, if you actually look at the step chart, if you says step 10, the average of the two dice should be a 10. You can replicate that on a D20. Again, you're rolling two different dice, and you're not using a D20 linear 5% increase. It really does change the feel of the game. When you roll 2d8 and you get an 8 and an 8, and you're like, oh crap, and you can get an armor defeating hit out of that. I mean, how do you do that in the Pathfinder version of it? Oh, you roll a natural 20. Oh wow, 5% chance. Well, it's funny because in Earth Dawn, at lower levels, I have like a 0% chance, and a higher level, I have like a 50% chance, depending on the armor rating, the physical defense of the target. You cannot replicate it in the same way as the point that I'm making. You can make a facsimile thereof, and if you like it, do it. In fact, some poor person actually, well, I don't know what box it went in. It might even be one of them I still haven't sent out yet, but is getting the Earth Dawn Pathfinder GM guide because I don't want it anymore. So, anyway, the point that I'm making is that you have to. It is a challenge to get it right, but what are the benefits of it? So let's be honest about this. You can't just sit here. There's no benefits of it. Yeah, there are. So, Nerdy, I'm going to start with you. What are the benefits of Savage Rifts?
I've only played a couple times. I'm not that familiar with the system. I had sorry for the cop out, but I had fun playing it. It was had a lot to do with it, and there are there were elements that were good for it, but it just didn't play well as a as a risk. But
well, let's be honest. Savage Worlds is easier to learn than Palladium off the cuff.
Right? Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a benefit of right there. There's a benefit of the system conversion.
Yeah. Like you said, Savage Worlds is easier to learn. Maybe more people are more familiar with it, so they would. Oh yeah, because I've come across a lot of people. I've never heard of Rifts. I've never heard of Palladium, although that's getting fewer and fewer nowadays. But it's like more people may know about Savage Worlds. So so having that conversion, you can wet their whistle for actual the actual game of Rifts, Palladium Rifts. Like, oh hey, this is cool. Yeah, this was cool. But Palladium Rifts, the actual game, the first game, way better.
Well, let me flip, and this is for both of you guys. Since you mentioned Besom earlier, Nerdy Ogre, let's mention Besom now. Why would I play Besom 5e over actual Besom? For those who don't know, we're talking Big Eye Small Mouth. It's an anime role-playing game. Why would I play Anime 5e over Big Eye Small Mouth? It's a very easy answer, and don't let chat beat you to it.
No, I don't know of any Anime 5e, but
no. Anime 5e is the 5th edition version of Besom. It's everything converts to 5e. Symbaroum, for the people who do Free League publishing games, Symbaroum has a 5e version. Why is there a 5e version of the game?
From my understanding, because the Dungeons and Dragons game from 3rd edition to 5th edition now um, has just grown in popularity. Everybody knows it.
There you
You know,
go. That's
later,
the simple answer. You don't have to go any deeper than that. That is the simple answer, because everybody plays. Well, it did. I don't know about now, but for the last few years, that's all people played: 5e, 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 5e. And I'm going to put this on the screen now because Mark McKinnon literally said that word, and I respect him for saying it. It's like, why are you doing a 5e version? Money. Okay. Because he saw the fact that if he wants to get people into his game, and let's be fair, 5e, while it's not Bessim, it certainly isn't a point-based game. It certainly is not as easy as Tristat. It is simple enough, and you can absolutely make anime characters in a 5e, because I personally feel that 5e is already anime role-playing anyway. So why would anybody convert to 5e? Baron, if you were to convert a game, pick a game, any game, I don't care, what system would you convert it to? What conversion would you like to see? And we're not saying this has to be the publisher, just what would be neat for you?
Truthfully, and you're going to hate me for this because we've had this round and round, is I would take something like After the Bomb and convert it into a 3.5 Pathfinder type game.
When are you going to blue screen to death again, sir?
Nope.
Nope, not yet. Now he's not.
Nope.
No, but why would you do that? Because there's obviously a reason for it. Why would you do that?
It's just that I know that rule set much better. It's something I'm comfortable with. I mean, I'm just to be honest, because I like the idea.
I just kicked a cat. What's the benefit for, because you're comfortable with it? And I want to be very clear. It's obvious to you. It's obvious, Nerdy Ogre. It's obvious to me. It's probably obvious to 90% of the people watching. But for the 10% of people who it might not be obvious to, why is that a benefit that 3.5 and think you could run a good version of After the Bomb in that system?
Well, it's just for the thing of the group that I normally play with /DM for. That's what we all know very well, and it's going to be the same answer as like 5e. It's just ease of use. We know that system. We know what the pluses and minuses are, and that's why it's what we kind of grew up on and whatnot. So that's why. And one benefit of it is we're talking about what benefits of porting it over is just knowledge of the system. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of it boils down to. It's like because you could theoretically take the new Star Wars with the funky dice and port that over to the West End games. Why couldn't you? Because that's the thing, is that you could easily, if you had the time to do it, you could take that rule set and port it over to the West End games version. And why? Because that's what a lot of people really like to play, is that West End games version. But there's things that are out there now that are that they've added to the canon. I'm not talking about the movies and all that. I'm talking more of the book side that they've added to the newer game that would be very interesting to see play out in that older system.
Yeah, I've always said that the West End games. Now, I haven't done the new, was it Fantasy Flight or whatever, the one with the Genesis dice stuff. I haven't played that one, but I've always said that the original West End games version is better for the original trilogy, while the D20 version is better for the prequels. I think the D20 version handled the prequels better, but that old school feel, something about it just really worked with the West End game system, surprisingly so. So I absolutely love that. And yeah, you could convert stuff to that. The obvious benefit that you both have mentioned is the fact that people know it. What about, and this, there's a comment that I might put up on the screen a little later. What about the idea of getting people started with? So you said After the Bomb. You're taking my favorite game. Oh my God, After the Bomb, and bring it to my most hated game, 3.5. So that's a great dichotomy right there. What if by doing that though you introduce people to After the Bomb that way in order to get them to the Palladium version later?
You can definitely do that. I will say this, as a rule set, the 5e rule set, I'm not talking D&D, I'm talking the OGL rule set, is actually halfway decent. For the simple fact of the newer Stargate that Wyvern Games put out is based on that. You know, they've got their own little tweaks and stuff like that in there, but that rule system works for that setting. And the extra stuff that they throw into the 5e that makes it, you know, a little over the top and all that is not always there.
Okay.
So, you know, the thing is that when you're looking at a game, it's not necessarily you're not looking at the things that are with it. It's more of looking at the actual rule set. It's kind of like 3.5. Your issues with 3.5, if you take 3.5, cut away the D&D, you know, take all that out, but the base 3.5 rule set is a decent rule set. And that's what I'm talking about with being able to port that over to just the rule set, not, you know, incorporating the D&D stuff into it.
For the record, I like 5e better than 3. As a generic rule set, I like 5e much better than 3.
But I'm using that as an example. Is that, you know, because when we're talking about putting things over, we're not talking about, you know, necessarily the actual set rules of the setting. We're talking about just the rule set, which is completely, some people, to them, there's not, they don't comprehend the difference, but a lot of us can set, and, you know, especially those of us who have done a lot of GMing, who have, you know, have done a lot of different games, we can kind of peel that stuff away and look at just the rule set as opposed to the actual setting. That's
so my issue with that take though is that rules inform setting, and you can't get away from that. That's the crux between like Simbroom versus Simbroom 5e or Rifts versus Savage Rifts. You just the rules themselves also they really inform the systems. Also, why I say that West End game Star Wars is perfect for old school, the original trilogy. Probably doesn't do, actually not probably, in my experience, it doesn't handle the prequels as well. On the flip side, the D20 version handles the prequels better than it would the original series.
Well, here's my issue with something you said a bit ago. It's been kind of for the most part, people tend to be, for lack of a better word, lazy when it comes to learning new rule system. So say we're playing Earth Dawn. I convince you to play Savage World Rifts. You know, y'all have never heard of it, and I've convinced you. Now I want to convert you over. Well, we've gone from something everyone is familiar with and love, introduced them to a new game. They've, you know, we've learned all these new rules, and now we're going to have to learn to play this game in.
And it's like your first girlfriend. You usually like the version you play first the best.
Right. And so I. So I think that, you know, using a mesh of, you know, setting and system of one to try to convert them over into the original, you know, Savage World Rifts into Palladium Rifts, it's not going to work. It's going to be a harder sell to go from, you know, Savage World Rifts to the Palladium Rifts, mainly because, you know, it's like we know this game. We've gone to something completely different, but we've learned the rules, and we may we may like it, we may not, especially if you don't like it. If you don't like Savage World Risk, it's like, okay, we tried it, can we go back? Well, hey, okay, well, let's try Palladium Risk. Well, we've already tried a Risk game and didn't like it. Why are we going to go deeper down that rabbit hole? So, you'd be best to start with the original, the first one.
Okay.
But that's it's worth.
All right. Well, I think we're about ready to move on to the next one. Let's hit some of this chat up here that we've got. Guys are weird at the end there. Where's it? Where did I end off? Okay, here we go. So Weird Guy for $10 says there's 2 exceptions to conversion rules. All games eventually get a version based on Star Wars and Cthulhu. It's a damn law of nature at this point. Fair, that's fair. Thank you for the $10, Weird Guy. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, we'll talk actually a little bit more about that in the next segment, the next video. Yeah. Grizzly Bearda over on Rumble. Unfortunately, I can put normal Rumble chat up, but not Rumble rants up. But he says, I hate Rumble sometimes. I tried sending this before with my last comment. I would honestly like to try running After the Bomb using Mutant Year Zero. I considered that. I considered doing that, running an After the Bomb setting type game, but using the Mutant Gen Lab Alpha rules. Now, would it be the same game? No, again, there are just weird nuances with the Palladium system that Mutant Year Zero doesn't have. But
and I've seen the videos y'all done on that. It's not really a conversion because Mutant Year Zero is somewhat similar. All the Year Zero engine games are compatible. So in order to do that, you're not really converting.
No, but again, a system informs setting, and the Palladium system itself has some nuances in there that cannot be captured or are captured differently in the Year Zero engine. I love the Year Zero engine. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. Would it be After the Bomb? If you think of After the Bomb as a generic, just post-apocalyptic anthropomorphic animal game, okay. I don't, though. Again, I'm an IP purist in all things. I wouldn't do Gen Lab Alpha in After the Bomb, and I wouldn't do After the Bomb in Gen Lab Alpha. But there's no reason why you at your table couldn't do that and find a way to make it fun. I've actually considered that myself. What I looked at is just more animals. I wanted more animals than what Gen Lab Alpha had. I also like the mutation system of After the Bomb. Thoughts? Okay. Rex Teal says, Black Lodge Games tried converting Dragonlance to Runecrest Mithras. They liked that more because they didn't think the setting fit the Appendix N style of D&D and that Mithras fits the setting more. I think that some people get way too focused on Appendix N. Appendix N is a guideline. Appendix N is something that has, there are many, 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 many more books nowadays, and Dragonlance itself is Hickman Manifesto more than it is Appendix N. Now, that doesn't mean Appendix N is wrong. No, Appendix N was great for 1979. But there have been a lot of books written since then. I think Appendix N is used as a authoritarian crutch sometimes. I think it's a great reference, and I think people should read all the books in Appendix N. But I also think that relying and saying that, well, D&D is supposed to be Appendix N, well, Appendix N are just books. And books are not, novels or stories and so forth. And a lot of other books have been written than just those nowadays. So maybe I'm looking at this a little bit differently than what the intent was. But I think Dragonlance, hey, I'm not saying don't try it in something else. If it works in something else and you think it gets the feel of it, do it. But Dragonlance, the first edition, and I'm a second edition AD&D guy. I'm not a first edition guy. But I would tell you that the first edition AD&D Dragonlance Adventures hardcover book is absolutely freaking-tastic, and I've used it a lot. Thoughts? Okay. Moving on. My mouse doesn't want to work now. Main benefit, and this is what we all were saying as well. You already know the rules. You can play it now, not after studying and play testing it solo for a while. What is this aversion you have, weird guy, with learning new systems? I don't get it. I love learning new systems. I want to know, and I'm not talking like all the nuances so I can break it, but if you play with people that don't want to learn new systems, I say that they're lazy people that need to find a new hobby. People should be playing multiple games out there. Have your main campaign or the main game you like, but people should play all types of systems, gain strengths and benefits from each and one of them, weaknesses, whatever, to find out how to actually improve the system you're running now. It's just weird to me. Like everyone's like, if I have to read more than 50 pages, and it's like I don't have to study to like. Games are yes, new players, and this is not about weird guys, it's about new players. I hear this a lot, like, I don't want to read a rule book, I just want to play. Then this isn't the hobby for you. This hobby comes with reading and understanding the rule books. RTFM. Anything add to that, or are we moving on?
But I don't. And somebody put in chat, I don't like new things. New things are bad. New things scare me. And that's it.
Somehow my mouse is acting weird. See? Forge and Brush got it. But again, if you have not already, make sure you subscribe to his channel. I agree, Max. More games, the better. Right.
Exactly.
I do really like having the idea of a static game. And like the way I described it before is what we did is we had our static game on the weekend, usually on, Sunday, unless it was football season, then it was Saturday. And then on Wednesday, we played random games, or we go to I'd go to War Games West in Albuquerque, or conventions, whatever, and play random games. I like learning new games. I want to read the new games. I want to see the new games, see if I'm something I'm interested in. Yeah, there've been a bunch I played that I hated. I like the idea of playing new games. But you're the exception. Well, you have a bad group, but then again, people have been saying that about the groups that I've been in, because after the last couple of Sunday episodes, people have been posting all over my Discord about how I've always had bad players. No, it's one player ruins it for everyone. That's what I've run into. One player ruins it for everyone, and you gotta get that one out. So it's not, my groups have been good. I've always had a random player that would pop in and cause problems. So, all right, let's go to our last topic here, because we're running a little overboard, but not as bad as the other ones. So please like, subscribe, share. And the next one, we're going to talk about specific systems. I know we kind of did that already, but now it's time to make these guys think about things they may have done outside the ordinary. But we'll see. We'll see if they know anything other than D&D and what is it, that Palladium.